Here's the top 10 most common VA claims in 2023. They're the most common VA disability claims because they're the claims that are won the most. So typically these are direct service connection claims. A lot of these are low ball rating claims, but that's okay. Get something service connected, get some points on the board, and then you could file secondary claims. We have tinnitus, limitation of flexion of the knee, hearing loss, post-traumatic stress disorder, lumbosacral or cervical strain, paralysis of the sciatic nerve, scars, limitation of motion of the ankle, limitation of motion of the arm, and migraines. So these are the top 10, and this is the order they come in. This is the most popular to the least popular in the top 10. Let's start with tinnitus. It's rated under diagnostic code 6260. It's a ringing in the ears, it's a buzzing, it's a hissing. It's really hard to pin down, but if you've had it, and you probably do, it's a nightmare to live with. I've had it for 30-something years. The rating for tinnitus is 10%. Doesn't matter if it's in one ear or both ears. There's no test for subjective tinnitus. Subjective tinnitus is the most common type of tinnitus. It makes up about 95% of tinnitus conditions. The other 5% is objective tinnitus, and they can't actually test for that. So the majority of us have subjective tinnitus. You're the only one that hears your subjective tinnitus because it's subjective, right? So when you're getting service connected for this, you're going to do this by writing a personal statement describing when on active duty it started and approximately 2-month window. And then you're going to say that you've had it since then. Right? So if it's been, a couple of years since you got out or 30 years since you got out, you do this all on a VA Form 21-4138, a personal statement. My tinnitus started here on the flight line, and it's a ringing, and it's been driving me nuts, and it's been a problem ever since. Never stops. It's always there. That's basically how you win a VA claim for tinnitus. That's what makes it an easy claim to win, and that's why it tops the list of most common claims. A lot of veterans have it. It's very common to have it, and you can win it because you write the nexus in your personal statement. Limitation of flexion of the knee. This is diagnostic code 5257. The highest scheduler rating for limitation of flexion of the knee is 30%. And it includes the following symptoms: recurrent subluxation or instability, unrepaired or failed repair of complete ligament tear causing persistent instability. And a medical provider prescribes both the assistive device, like a cane, crutches, walker, and bracing for ambulation. Typically, the ratings are 0, 10, 20%. 30% at the high side, but there's 3 different ratings for the knee that you need to be aware of. If you have instability, flexion, and extension problems, you can get 3 ratings. The VA loves to lump these together. This is one where you actually need a strategy. You need to have a doctor pull the symptoms apart and associate them with the different diagnostic codes. So if you deserve 3 separate ratings for your knee, you get them. If you need help doing this, here's an email address. Contact my med team. They're good at this stuff. They can help you with the medical evidence piece. In this case, it would be the nexus. If you have unfavorable ankylosis of the knee, it's rated under diagnostic code 5256. This has ratings of 30, 40, 50, and 60%, depending on the frequency, severity, and duration of the symptoms, to include range of motion. So this is measured in degrees. You're going to use a little plastic thing that looks like a protractor. It's called a goniometer, and it's literally, they're going to put it on your knee in your C&P exam, and you should do this before you file your claim. You should have your doctor writing the diagnosis when he's measuring the symptoms and writing your nexus. He should have a goniometer on you. So when you go to your C&P exam, you already have range of motion. You kind of know what to expect in your C&P exam because you've already kind of gone through this. And, more importantly, if they lowball you, you'll have your own medical evidence to appeal theirs with. If you need to appeal, one option might be checking out the sponsor of today's video, Hill & Ponton. Check them out at hillandponton.com. See if they can help you with your appeal. Hearing loss is the third most common VA disability claim. Hearing loss is rated under diagnostic code 6100. VA ratings for hearing loss are interesting. They actually range from 0% all the way up to 100%. And there's breaks at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. So the way the VA does this with a lot of medications and, these assistive devices for your knee or inserts for your feet, if you try these things and they don't work, then you get the higher rating. With hearing loss, they're going to put hearing aids in your ear and then you'll be able to hear again. So it's debatable how fair this is. But if you can hear, then you don't have hearing loss. So that's the way the VA does this. So they're going to give you a 0% rating. That's the most common rating. They're going to put hearing aids in your ear. And yeah, hearing aids you would think are more for older people. Like my mom got them. She's 85. She probably got them 5 years ago. If you're 23 and you have hearing loss and you get hearing aids, they're going to give you a 0% rating. Your service connected for hearing loss is 0%, which means you could file secondaries, depression, migraines, GERD, IBS, things that hearing loss causes because you're so young having to deal with hearing aids. That's how you could pump those numbers up. Post-traumatic stress disorder is the fourth most common VA disability claim. PTSD is rated under diagnostic code 9411, and PTSD is a mental health condition. So you could be rated at 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100%. Most veterans that get a rating for PTSD and win their PTSD claim get a 70% rating. If you have under a 70% rating, you need to file for an increase. If you want to talk about increases and strategy, check out my boot camp, links in the description. This is where, you get into if you have a lower than a 70% rating, you need an increase. Guarantee it, 70% is where you need to be at. You're not talking about your symptoms properly. It's fine. You didn't know you were supposed to. You didn't even know about deficiencies in most areas of your social and work life. You're just like, I have PTSD. So the rating criteria measures your mental health ratings based on how much it affects your social and your work life. Divorces, arrest records, psych holds, 5150s, things of that nature. Road rage, it goes on, hiding in your basement all the time. So if you, are lower, you want to talk, check out my boot camp, combatcraig.com, links in the description. I can help you with mental health stuff. I've learned a lot about it. The highest scheduler rating for PTSD is 100%. So you can go all the way to 100% with a PTSD rating. On the other side of that coin, they can give you 0%. They're actually proposing to change this as well, and they're going to ditch the 0% rating. But this hasn't gone into effect yet. They're also proposing changes to tinnitus. Those haven't gone into effect yet. So if you're on the fence about filing a claim, now's the time to do it before they make these changes, which is going to make some of these things a lot harder. Tinnitus and sleep apnea for sure. Unknown about mental health. It looks like that's going to be easier, but we'll see what the government does once they get their hands on it. So 100% rating for PTSD is total occupational and social impairment. A 70% PTSD rating is occupational and social impairment with deficiencies in most areas, such as work, school, family relations, judgment, thinking, or mood. This is the rating that I have, and like I said, most of us fit into these symptoms here. A 50% rating is occupational and social impairment with reduced reliability and productivity. This was actually my first mental health rating when I wasn't quite talking about my symptoms because I didn't understand how all this stuff worked. A 30% rating for PTSD is occupational and social impairment with occasional decrease in work efficiency and intermittent periods of inability to perform occupational tasks, although generally functioning satisfactorily, with routine behavior, self-care, and conversation normal. I know this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but these are the way the ratings come from. So you have to fit yourself into these symptoms and these headings and see where you're at. But I'm just telling you, You'll have stuff in the 30 and the 10 and the 50. 70 is what you need to focus on. 10%, occupational and social impairment due to mild or transient symptoms which decrease work efficiency and ability to perform occupational tasks only during periods of significant stress or symptoms controlled by continuous medication. Here's the medication piece. This pops up all over the place. When you take meds, does it get better? Mental health, not so much. High blood pressure, like a hypertension claim, you have to take it. If you don't take it, you'll die. So some things are going to affect, medication is going to affect some disabilities worse than they're going to affect others. And the 0% rating for PTSD has no symptoms or continuous medication keeps your symptoms completely in check, which also means no symptoms. Lumbosacral or cervical strain. It's the 5th most common claimed VA disability. Neck pain's common in veterans. I had neck surgery, so I'm a candidate of that. Neck muscles can be strained from poor posture, deployments, carrying heavy things, leaning over your computer. So it's not just physical. Like just sitting there as a desk person is probably actually worse on your neck than actually being super physical. Makes sense, right? You're sitting there all day long, hunched over, carpal tunneled out, and all that kind of stuff. I'm quite sure that's where mine came from. The VA rates lumbosacral or cervical strain under diagnostic code 5237. The ratings range from 10% to 100%, and there's breaks at 20, 30, 40, and 50. Your average rating for neck pain is probably going to be 10%. That's fine. Get some points on the board. Get it service connected if you're not service connected for anything, and file secondaries. What's a good secondary for neck pain? A mental health claim for somatic symptom disorder. You're only going to get paid so much for the neck pain, but the way it makes your mental health act, if that makes sense, that's a 70% rating for mental health. That's how you do it. Secondary claims are money. Again, check out my boot camp if you want to learn more about secondaries or you want to talk to me. Paralysis of the sciatic nerve comes in at number 6. Sciatic nerve problem, sciatica. This is the pain that radiates from your lower back, down through your butt, down into your leg. For me, it goes down into my left calf. So you'll feel it in your lower butt, or in your butt, down the back of your leg and your thigh. Down into your ankle. Sometimes it goes down into your feet. The most common cause of sciatica is a herniated disc at the L5-S1 joint. Raise your hand if you have one of those. I know I do. To detect herniated discs, you can't do it with an x-ray. Get an MRI. They could see and measure how big the herniation is. I have 10 millimeters in my back. An x-ray, you just can't get that exact with it. And then, there's options for getting rid of the sciatica. I've had about 5 shots in my back to keep it at bay, but that's fun. Needle's huge. VA rate sciatica under diagnostic code 8520. And the different ratings are between 10% and 80%, and there's breaks at 20, 40, and 60%. For sure, sciatica, the most common, is 10%. Scars are the 7th most common VA disability claim. How many scars do you have on your body? I've got them all over the place. How many scars were measured when you went into the military, measured when you were out? They didn't do a very good job in 91 when I got out. Scars come in all shapes and sizes, and all sorts of things can cause them. The shaving bumps, fasciculitis Barbie. That leaves scars. Cutting yourself with a knife right here, a butterfly knife. Elbow surgery, back surgery. There's lots of different scars, lots of different things cause them. That's why they're so common. The VA rates scars under diagnostic codes 7801, 7802, and 7805. They vary between 10 and 80% with breaks at 20, 30, 40, and 50%. The highest scheduler rating for severe scars is 80%. The average rating for scars is 10%. Limitation of range of motion of the ankle. This is the 8th most common VA disability claim. It's rated under diagnostic code 5271. The highest scheduler rating for ankle pain is 20%. This is another one where they're going to do a range of motion test, and they're going to test to see how much you can move your ankle and how much pain you have. The goniometer will be used on you again, and make sure it's used in your C&P exam. This is another one. It's not a bad idea if you've been out for a while and you're filing a claim for your ankle and it's bad. Get your own doctor to do the diagnosis, the symptoms to include the measurements, and the nexus. Limitation of motion of the arm. Limitation of motion of the arm is rated under diagnostic code 5201, and the VA disability ratings for your arm are between 0% and 40%, and there's a break at 10 and 20%. So it gets very specific, and when you're doing arms and legs, you're going to have, I'm right-hand dominant, so you're going to, they're going to give you more points for your dominant arm versus your other one. And also, if you have both of your arms rated, you'll get the bilateral factor, which will also get you paid more. There's something called the painful motion principle, and that needs to be factored into these orthopedic conditions. So if you have pain on movement of your arm or your ankle or anything else that I talked about in this video, the VA is required to award you a 10% rating for painful motion. So that's one part you should get if you're in pain, which is why you're filing a disability claim. And again, somatic symptom disorder is another great secondary for any orthopedic condition. It also causes you to be depressed. So if you don't have somatic symptom disorder, you might have depression. You get one mental health rating, pick one, and get your 70% that way. That's how you deal with all orthopedic conditions. Number 10 is migraines, headaches. They all fall under diagnostic code 8100, and the ratings are 0%, 10%, 30%, and 50%, depending on how much it causes you to lay down. It's called prostrating. So if it happens once a week, that's a 50% rating. If it happens once a month, that's a 30% rating. So it really comes down to how often you get them, and then severe economic inadaptability, how bad it is at work, because migraines just come on, as you know, if you have them, and you're just out. Like you have to go home, or somebody else, you can't drive, right? You can't even see light, and you got halos and auras and all that kind of stuff. So it puts you out of work. So you need to talk about, how often you get them at work. The best way to talk about that, because you're qualified to do that part, is using Migraine Buddy. It's an app, and you just log your migraines. Migraines are a good one for secondaries. If you're service connected for your ankle or your arm or your knee, and it causes you a lot of pain, not only can it cause you depression or somatic symptom disorder, it can also cause severe headaches. There's lots of different headaches. They're all rated under migraines, which is diagnostic code 8100.